A massive mudslide and flash flood struck the Tibet Nepal border on Wednesday, August 26, 2026, unleashing torrents of water, mud, rocks and debris across mountainous areas on both sides of the frontier. The sudden disaster caused widespread destruction, damaged major infrastructure, and cut off transportation and communications in several areas. The most severe impacts were reported around Nepal's Razawa district, close to the border with China's Tibet Autonomous Region. The boat Koshi River suddenly swelled, sending a powerful torrent downstream and inundating communities, roads and infrastructure along the river valley. The areas around Timur and Sayapur Baysai were among those heavily affected. Fast-moving floodwater carrying enormous amounts of mud, stones and debris swept through the area, damaging buildings and destroying sections of roads and bridges.
पुरै त्यसरी लाइट यो चाहिँ है गाइस यस्तो लाइट छ ओहो पुरा ड्याम फुटेर आयो.
Video footage from the affected region showed muddy floodwater rushing through settlements with tremendous force. Vehicles and other objects were caught in the current, while roads that normally connect communities across the mountainous region were covered by water, rocks and thick layers of mud. Several infrastructure projects near the river were also severely affected. Hydropower facilities and construction sites were inundated as the floodwater surged through the valley, while access roads were damaged or completely washed away. The sudden rise in water levels gave residents little time to react. Communities along the river were placed on high alert as authorities warned people to move away from riverbanks and seek higher ground. The destructive flow continued downstream, threatening additional communities and infrastructure in other parts of Nepal. Authorities monitored river levels closely as the enormous volume of water moved through the boat Koshi River system. The disaster was not confined to Nepal. On the Tibet side of the border, a major mudslide struck the Jirong area in Shigats, close to the important Jirong port. The port is one of the major land routes connecting China and Nepal through the Himalayas, making the disruption particularly significant for cross-border transportation. Chinese authorities immediately launched emergency response measures and organized search and rescue operations in the affected mountainous areas. Emergency personnel were sent to assess the damage, clear blocked roads and search areas threatened by further landslide.
आमामामामामा ल यहाँ हामीले अब ओहो यार यो पुरै ड्याम फुटेर आएको ड्याम फुटेर
On the Nepalese side, emergency teams were also mobilized to conduct rescue and evacuation operations. Helicopters were deployed to assist with reconnaissance and reach areas that became difficult or impossible to access by road. However, the extremely rugged terrain and extensive infrastructure damage have made the response challenging. Some roads have been blocked by mud and rocks, while damaged bridges have cut off normal routes between communities.
Oh shit, man. Without you.
The disaster also disrupted an important cross-border transportation corridor. Jairong Port serves as a major connection between Tibet and Nepal, and any prolonged closure or restriction could affect the movement of people and goods between the two countries. The exact cause of the sudden flooding and mudslide remains under investigation. Experts are examining several possible mechanisms, including the sudden release of water from a high-altitude lake, a landslide blocking and then releasing a river, or other mountain-related hazards.
Tricity Bazaar केही छैन त्रिशुली स्कुल पनि छैन सबै सिधेको अवस्था
Authorities have not yet established a definitive cause. The Himalayan region is particularly vulnerable to sudden flash floods and landslides because of its steep terrain, unstable slopes, and rapidly changing conditions at high elevations. Heavy rainfall, melting snow, and glacial or lake-related events can all contribute to sudden increases in river levels. The Boat Koshi River is especially important in this disaster because it originates in the Tibet region before flowing south into Nepal. A sudden increase in water or debris upstream can therefore have rapid consequences for communities downstream. Authorities on both sides of the border are now concentrating on emergency response, infrastructure assessment, and restoring access to isolated areas. As emergency operations continue, authorities are expected to provide additional information about damaged roads, bridges, hydropower facilities, buildings, and other infrastructure. For now, the Tibet-Nepal border remains a major disaster zone, with powerful floodwaters and mudslides transforming sections of the Himalayan landscape and leaving critical transportation routes severely disrupted. The immediate priority is to reach isolated communities, secure dangerous areas, restore communications and transportation, and prevent further damage from secondary floods and landslide.
हे भगवान त्यो कस्तो एउटा घर पनि छैन केही छैन पेत्रावतीको त घर त पुरै लिएर आएर यता राख्यो के हेर्ने मान्छेहरु कहाँ गयो